We've got NewsNation national security contributor Tracy Walder with us, also former FBI special agent and CIA officer. So your expertise very much critical here. Tracy, as you have been watching all of this unfold, what are your thoughts as to what's happening on the ground right now?
Well, thank you so much for having me, Brooke. I mean, I understand that the FBI and local police have not confirmed that this is a terrorist attack, but in my opinion, it seems like a very targeted attack. I also think as well they have not been able to allow people back onto the scene because they are looking for any kind of secondary devices that may be there. So what that tells me is that the individual that they have in custody may not be complying with them, may not be giving them information in regards to if there are accomplices. And I think that's what they're trying to eliminate at this time to ensure that the public is safe.
Why do you think there is that discrepancy between FBI and local authorities? The FBI have called this a targeted terror attack. Local authorities have said, hold on, we're not calling it that just yet. What do you make of the difference there?
That's unusual, if you want me to be completely honest
Yeah.
with you. Typically, at least when I was an FBI agent, we would liaise with local law enforcement if they were the lead on something like this. And then we would sort of meet together and have a discussion about what information we were going to put forward. And so what that tells me is they're perhaps not liaising together. Now, I understand that they want to have a full picture of who this individual was. Were they specifically targeting this event, or were they targeting this street as a whole? As Shaw had mentioned earlier, this is a very busy street, so perhaps that is the case. But it seems to me that the FBI has probably already come to the decision that this is either a hate crime or a targeted terror attack. But you're right, it's unusual for them to disagree like this.
We should mention, as I think I did off the top here, the FBI, as we said, of course, calling this a terror attack. We have President Trump's senior director for counterterrorism also saying that this appears to fit existing terrorist profiles. So certainly a serious situation there. We're also hearing, Tracy, from some witnesses, people who were there when all of this happened, sort of describing the injuries that they were seeing. I believe, Control Room, we have that sound. If we can go ahead and play that for her.
There's a woman who was on the ground bleeding out. Oh my gosh, sorry. And then there are two other women whose calves were burned from the fire. And so I just ran over to stay with them and make sure that they didn't lose too much blood from their legs.
And there was a woman that was burning on the ground. And then we noticed two other people that had also been affected by the burns on their legs. And this man was shirtless and was yelling with some kind of accent and was threatening to burn people.
And at this point, again, local officials haven't confirmed a motive or even maybe what device was used, but we're hearing statements from other groups and from witnesses there that there was some kind of incendiary device. Your experience, your expertise, what do you think played out here?
It sounds to me like this individual sprayed some kind of a flammable substance somewhat indiscriminately. You can target in something like this, but when you're spraying, obviously that goes everywhere. And to what that witness was saying with different areas of a body being burned, such as calves, things like that, it sounds like it was rather indiscriminate in regards to how he was spraying this flammable substance. And then he just essentially lit it on fire. And that's, to me, it sounds like that's what he was doing. I looked at pictures of this individual before he was apprehended, and it looked to me like he had spray bottles of this. And so that would explain a lot of what these witnesses are seeing.
As of right now, as we've been saying, there is no official motive in this case, but it does appear that there was a pro-Israeli group out there when this attack happened, though the police chief made a point to say this is a very large area of downtown Boulder. There were a lot of people around. How do you go about determining whether or not this was targeted when something like this happens with so many people out and about on a Sunday afternoon?
And that's to, what we spoke about earlier, that might be why local police are sort of holding back on whether or not this was a targeted, event. I think there's two different ways. I think the first is going to be obviously interviewing the suspect. Now, whether he's going to talk or not obviously remains to be seen. I think the second thing is going to be that they're going to rely heavily on witnesses. Because this is a crowded area, there will be plenty of witnesses. However, I think that's going to take a lot of time. My guess is the police have already seized cell phones and cell phone video of some of those witnesses, and they will be able to hear what this suspect had to say. And in some of those things that he had to say, he may have been uttering sort of the why he went ahead and did what he did.
Yeah, how do you approach those questions? Right now, the suspect is in the hospital. We don't know what kind of injuries, if any, he has, the extent of his injuries. How do you approach those questions with him?
They can absolutely interview him in the hospital, and that's something I've done. It sounds like he's conscious and coherent, though obviously I don't have any information on that. It's just I was able to see them take him into custody. It seemed like he was able, he was coherent. So they will try to ask him questions, because I think right now, aside from motive, I think what police are really wanting to know, is there going to be another attack? Is the population of Boulder going to be subject to another imminent attack? That is probably the first line of questioning that he is going to get. I think the why is going to be secondary in this case.
We've already seen, sort of to that point, we've seen a tweet from the NYPD saying that they are upping their, response, if you will, around synagogues in the area. Do you expect to see that sort of across the country as people react to this?
It's hard, Brooke, because I am Jewish. And so when I do talk about these things, I obviously try to be as straight-faced as I can, but it's really difficult. I have a little girl. I feel unsafe sometimes in certain situations. And so I am glad to hear that they are upping security. We do know, obviously, 2 embassy staffers were killed just about a little over a week ago. And so, again, we don't have confirmation that this is that kind of an attack. But I do think that it is in the best interest, probably, of the Jewish community to go ahead and up protections.
Okay, Tracy Walder, thank you for your expertise, your insight, your personal experience through all of this as well.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.